welcome to the Bullcast Podcast. I'm Katie Pickler, and with me is Court Windsor.
Hello, Katie.
And Cameron Spann.
Hola.
Oh, Lordy, y'all. The accents, are y'all like dreaming of going different places?
Oh, my word.
It's a multicultural experience.
Indeed, yes. I'm constantly dreaming of going places, but I never get to go anywhere.
Oh, that is not true.
So I should put in the caveat that I do get to travel a lot of great places for work. But it's been a long time since I took a just me and my wife kind of vacation.
Just
it's
the
been a
two
long
of us.
time since we did that.
I didn't know that this was a thing, but apparently January 30th is planned for vacation day.
Ooh,
They have a day for everything.
They really do.
they really, really do.
Why do you think it's January? To give you enough time for the summer? Like start saving now?
Sure.
Probably
You got 6 months.
Okay, let's think. January 30th, you have now hopefully like dealt with the shock of what you did in December, paying those bills. And so now you're probably back to
If
like
you're lucky.
if you're lucky, you're probably back to like square one, like crap, my savings is depleted. Like I went like treat yourself, gung ho, did all the things in December. So now it's one of those of like, okay, I have to, probably what it is I have to save. I have to like cut myself off, not live it up too much. So what is the best way to do that? Dream of something fun to save for.
Well, yes. Okay. So not only that, but think about this just from the perspective of wintertime and short days and no sunlight. But a lot of people get a seasonal affective disorder and stuff like that. And so it may help to plan for that sunny time when you're going to go somewhere sunny and beachy. And, you know, there are all sorts of reasons it could be January, but
Like Australia?
Yeah, I was saying, where are you going next week, Court?
we're not telling people where I'm going. I'm so famous, people would try and follow us.
I think I gave that away when I posed the question.
Okay, let's get into the list, and then we're gonna make you spill the beans about that a little bit. But this is the best movies about vacation.
We were presented a list
Yeah,
from Nicole.
Nicole gave us a great list, and then we've now added a ton. So just bear with us. We're gonna kind of throw some of these out there. Some we'll talk about it a little bit longer. Others we'll just name them off. But we know there's a lot of movies about vacation, and I don't know that we want to say the best because there's some really bad vacations, but good movies about it.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
You got to start the list off with all of the National Lampoon's Vacation, whether you're
Yes.
talking about Vegas, European, you know, it's called Christmas Vacation, but it's not.
It actually, they're at home.
They're at home, but I mean,
they don't travel.
It's a
everyone-
vacation for Cousin Eddie.
Yeah, everyone knows about Wally World,
Christmas
and
break. Did you know that that the National Lampoon's Vacation, the original movie, was actually based on a story that was published in the National Lampoon magazine, like back in the 50s or 60s. The story was
Wow.
originally published, and then they turned it into a movie in the 80s. So
I was wondering where the title National Lampoons came from. I didn't know that was a magazine.
yeah.
I was kind of shocked how raunchy European Vacation
Oh,
was.
yes. I saw that when I was young, too.
Yeah, I saw it recently as an adult. Like, I saw it when I was younger, but then I saw it recently as an adult, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Maybe I was watching, like, the made-for-TV version before.
Since I mentioned this movie when we were trying to come up with movies, I'll take it. It's Forgetting Sarah Marshall. The main character takes a vacation to a tropical resort. I think it's in Hawaii, and his girlfriend, who had just dumped him, shows up there with her new boyfriend, and zaniness ensues.
So her name is Sarah Marshall, but
Yeah.
his name is Marshall on How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa.
Jason.
Siegel.
Is it Siegel?
Segel, yeah.
Jason Siegel is the main character, is the lead in that movie, and then
Kristen
of course
Bell.
Kristen Bell is Sarah Marshall.
Russell Brand.
Russell Brand sucks, and then
Mila Kunis.
Thank you, boy. Just steal my thunder. Like 3 times I tried to say her damn name, and then boom.
Next on the list is The Hangover.
Oh, God.
That is quite a vacation.
Yep. Bunch of guys go on a...
Both of them.
Oh yeah.
That's right, both of them.
Yeah.
Were there two
There
or
are 3.
Man.
And actually, the middle one, Hangover Part 2, is the one where I would like to vacation most because they go to Thailand, and I've always wanted to go to Thailand. So yeah.
Yep, but in the original they go to Vegas, and it's
And
just
then in the third one, they go to Vegas.
crazy.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Quite the vacation for sure. They take a dead body to the dead body's beach house and party it up. pretty fun movie. One of my dad's
Weekend at
favorites.
Bernie's too.
Yeah, I don't remember as much about Weekend at Bernie's 2, except for they go to some, again, tropical location. There just aren't a whole lot of movies that have my favorite type of vacation destination in it. Because I've always been like more of a snow, and it seems like all the movies that involve snow skiing are really bad.
Hallmark
like,
movies.
Either Hallmark movies or like the 80s produced just a glut of movies like Ski Patrol, where it's nothing but bad jokes and nudity and stuff.
Your favorite movies next, Court?
Next movie on the list is, it's less of a vacation and more of a complete life change, but Under the Tuscan Sun. Diane Lane moves to the Tuscan Valley in Italy and buys a house and basically sets up a new life there. And it's an amazing movie, gorgeous scenery. Made me want to visit that area in Italy just based solely on that one movie. I recommend it. I loved it.
I have been under the Tuscan sun, and I can vouch for the beauty of it. I was under the Tuscan sun with David Pickler. We were basking in the Tuscan sun.
Is this another Green with Envy moment I'm supposed to
Sure.
talk about?
All of my world traveling experience is due to work here with David.
But you have
Italy,
fun.
British Isles, Oscars, New York.
Katie's
DC.
turning beet red over
Did you
there.
hear
Los
that?
Angeles.
Did you hear that? I threw a pin at Cam.
You sure did. All right, next on the list is Eat, Pray, Love. As far as vacation destinations in this movie, it's beautiful. As far as a movie, it bored me to tears. I took my wife to see it, and it's too long and too boring.
I couldn't even bother to try and go and see it. I mean, you know, this is like if I were on a plane for 40 hours straight, couldn't get off the plane, and had nothing to do but watch Eat, Pray, Love, I think I would rather just stare at the back of the seat in front of me.
There was not enough eating, a decent amount of praying, and too much love. You're not missing much. All right, KT.
Okie dokie. Roman Holiday. Audrey Hepburn.
Never
a
seen it.
classic. Well, you're just seeing the ones filled with nudity and snow.
Ski Patrol.
Ski Patrol.
So she goes on holiday in Rome.
Is that the gist of it? Or are you just going to...
We've got other movies. That
Sure,
is
okay.
going.
Okay. we're
Roman
just going
holiday.
on.
Cool.
Little Miss Sunshine. They travel across the country in a VW van to get to a, what are they called? A pageant sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a little beauty pageant.
Yeah, and she, of course, Little Miss Sunshine is, as the title of the movie suggests, she is just a bundle of happiness and positivity. I kind of felt the same way watching this movie that I feel when I watch Ted Lasso. You know, just an abundance of positivity, and then of course in the end of the movie, you get very sad. But then everything turns around and it's okay again.
Next on the list, I originally read this as The Wild, which was on a previous list with Katie and I, but this is Into the Wild. Both of those movies I would not consider vacation movies. Yes, he treks across America and into the wild to regain his independence. And
Emil Hirsch.
Emil
Isn't
Hirsch?
that his name?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, a
Oh,
doppelganger
I
of mine.
remember this
Yes.
movie.
Yeah.
From my childhood, yeah.
Basically, he's like, screw capitalism. I'm not using money. I'm going to hike it all the way to Alaska. He makes it to Alaska, and then he dies from eating berries that are
that's
poisonous.
Well, I mean, we didn't say this list contained uplifting movies. It's just movies where people travel, basically.
Yeah.
The next
It
movie
is
maybe-
on there.
it is
Look,
on here. I'm
Wild
not
is.
crazy.
You're not crazy. Wild is on this list, which is the Reese Witherspoon. Which, you know, I don't know. That's a vacation.
Pretty sure same premise as Into the Wild, but she doesn't die.
Okay, next on the list is Crazy Rich Asians.
Abby loves this movie.
Well, I mean, I love the movie. Overall, I think it's a great movie. There are some characters and or actors that kind of rub me the wrong way, but overall, I think it's a great movie. Gorgeous scenery. Again, the houses and so forth are beautiful. A few years ago, if you had asked me, hey, do you want to go visit Hong Kong? I would have been like, hell yeah. Based strictly on this movie, I would have been like, yeah, it looks like a cool place. Now, you know, things over there are a little bit more troublesome than they used to be, and I'm not sure I'd want to go. But, you know, yeah, cool movie.
What about Snatched? That's kind of a newer one. Goldie Hawn, Amy Schumer. They go on vacation, mother and daughter, and get kidnapped.
Or how about Taken? Since we're
Yeah,
talking about
there you
travel
go.
movies where there's kidnapping involved.
Be terrified to travel now. But then you got The Holiday, where, that's just a beautiful little story, switching places.
Yeah.
I have a series of movies to nominate because Abby and I just watched all of the Daniel Craig Bonds. Those are the ultimate vacation movies. They go
Yeah.
to like 10 locales in every movie.
That's true.
And it pisses Abby off. In one of the movies, I was like, I've been there. Because they went to Italy.
Abby, I'm with you. Throw stuff at
In
him.
this movie, they went to Venice, they went to London, they went to Scotland. I was like, I've been there, been there.
Yes, yes,
times.
indeed.
He was so worldly. Well, I mean, the Goofy movie.
Where did that come from?
It's actually one of Daniel's favorite movies, and I did not know this until like we were married. I'm like, what?
The Goofy movie?
The Goofy movie. Goofy's dad takes his kid, Max, I think is his name, on a father-son bonding trip, and it's as everything with Goofy. There's just stuff that happens.
Anytime you have a vacation movie that involves snow, it seems like it's some sort of B-rate movie that's just bad jokes and so forth. Anytime there's a beach involved, it's like either romantic comedy or whatever. Then you've got your whole European locale vacation movies like Letters to Juliet and stuff like that, Under the Tuscan Sun, places where you're like, wow, that seems like a really cool place to visit. And then, of course, there's also visiting cabins. So you've got, The Great Outdoors?
Great Outdoors.
And then...
Cabin Fever? Oh.
Then there are the whole series of movies that involve cabins and horror. So, Evil Dead.
Strangers or something like that.
Yeah, and of course, Cabin in the Woods.
And I think there's The Cabin.
Yeah.
So it's fun. It's vacations.
On that note, let's talk about planning a vacation where you're not going to hopefully get kidnapped, not going to have a rental that tries to eat you or kill you or something. Yeah. Oof. We've now traumatized everyone who's listening to this. So, National Plan for Vacation Day. Every last Tuesday of January. Okay, so it's not a set January 30th, but it's every last Tuesday of January. This year is the 30th. Americans are encouraged to plan their vacation days at the start of the year, which makes sense. You think about it, like you've started a new calendar year. You probably need to work with your office of hey, I want to take off this time. I actually did this when I think it was the day after New Year's. I looked at Daniel and said, I want to go somewhere. I've already got this scheduled for this year. When can you do something? Mm-hmm. And I've got a trip booked. Don't know if he's going to come or not, but it's booked.
It helps with your family. It certainly helps to go ahead and plan it and have time to spend with your family. Robin and I did that last year with our kids. We planned our first family vacation in a long time and actually took some time and went out somewhere for a week.
So
Robin
proud
and
of
I
y'all.
are doing our first couple vacation in years and years and years, just coming up here very soon. So it helps with that aspect. It also helps your employer plan. If everybody would try and plan their vacations at the very beginning of the year, then you really could structure a schedule where as an employer, coming up over the course of the next year, this is when I'll have this person out. And you can make sure that you don't have a time where you've got multiple people that are out at the same time. Because I know that is every employer's worst nightmare, is to accidentally allow too many people off at once. And
it's kind of one of those, go back to schoolyard games, dibs. I call dibs on this time period.
Yeah.
So then you've already been oh no, I planned this 4 or 5 months ago. You can't just go on this spur of the moment trip because I already booked it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so vacations help people spend some quality time with their family and friends. It also helps with their mental health. Vacations also tend to increase tourism, which ensures a well-functioning economy. I mean, that's definitely true. We saw that with some areas with COVID that were really struggling. I know something I go to every year is Mardi Gras in New Orleans, and New Orleans is a tourist town. I mean, it thrives on Mardi Gras. It thrives on having those tourists come in, and there was whole speculations with the mayor down there wanting to put the kibosh on Mardi Gras, and I think the city...
What?
Yeah.
He must not be a local.
It's a lady. And there's actually floats most years that are not very positive of her. LaToya the Destroyer, or something. I can't remember what it is exactly. But pretty much restaurant owners, business people were you are going to kill this city if you get rid of Mardi Gras. But sorry, that was a tangent of saying that, yes, think about it in a positive way of, yes, you're traveling, you're doing something for your family, for yourself, for your mental, but you're also increasing the economy. You're giving work to people especially those ski areas, those places in the winter months, they may not have, or in the winter months they're busy, but in the summer months there may be nothing going on. I went to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. When did I go? September last year?
Yeah.
And we had a river raft guide thing, and he works, I think it's 7 or 8 months of the year. He's down there working, and then he doesn't work at all for the remaining rest of the year, and is just living on what he's had saved up, and then he comes back to work again. And so it's really, there's a group of people that are seasonal. They're based on the tourist areas.
Can we take a moment to make the distinction between a vacation and a trip? Because I feel like, and I know that, as a father of young children, our vacations are trips. There is nothing restful about them, and I don't think it helps my mental health. I think it actually destroys my mental health.
Okay, so the difference between
I think a vacation is if you are single or just like a couple's trip, or I don't know from experience, but maybe when your kids are older, that's a vacation when you can like relax. But if I'm at the beach and I'm constantly having to keep an eye on my children so that they don't drown, or they're always complaining, oh man.
I don't want to speak for those who are not here to speak for themselves, but I feel like, as a kid, every year I went to the beach with my family. Every single year. It was a family tradition. We went to Fort Walton Beach, Florida for years and years and years, and then we moved out to Sandestin and then 30A, and it went on for years and years and years. And, I feel like at least my dad, I seem to recall him being relatively relaxed a good portion of the trip. So,
what about your mom?
I think she had a good time as well. But we also went with a large group, so there were 3 to 4 families that all went together.
So you took turns.
So yeah, there were at any given time I might be being watched by one of my aunts or uncles or my parents' friends or my parents. They sort of traded off who was watching the kids and who was handling that, who was cooking, who was sitting down on the beach drinking a beer. So maybe the key is to find some friends and travel with friends and have a big group where you can sort of split duties.
And we're actually doing that for spring break. Four families.
Boom.
Oh, wow.
With like 1 million kids.
But I've also heard of people doing, I used to think it was ridiculous, but I've now traveled a couple of times with my nieces, and it's a full-time job. It's work. And so I understand now why some people have paid for like a high school kid or like a college kid to go on the vacation with them. So they're really kind of, in one way, they're getting a vacation, but they're there to kind of be like a nanny and help out so that you can then still enjoy somewhat of your vacation.
I think that is money well spent. Mm-hmm. I honestly do.
Well,
You're not away from your kids. Mama doesn't have separation anxiety, but you can also chill. Go to the beach, just you two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're still getting the memories, but it's just like, yeah, I want to go to the beach or I want to go to dinner, and that like the kids are taken care of.
We have taken college students and adults on different occasions with us to help us with our children on trips that we used to take. And it worked out well, I think, most of the time. I have never gone back and interviewed any of the people that we took with us to find out if they had a good time, if it was worth it.
Yeah.
But our idea was always, hey, you get a free trip. We'll pay for all your food. We'll pay for the place for you to stay. Mm-hmm. You'll have some time to yourself. And then you'll also help us take care of our kids. Huh? Does that sound good to you? And we had people take us up on it.
Well, and I would think that as you're like planning your vacation out, if you're going to be bringing that person, you're going to be bringing grandma or whoever it is, BB, on the trip, then maybe you consider how much work they're going to be actually doing and maybe think about the financial compensation and maybe cover the bill for them if you know they're going to be taking care of your child.
Can BB travel with me and Abby?
Sure.
Making horseradish dip in the kitchen.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm sure Nicole's got on this list, but I made the comment about I'm going to plan this trip and Daniel's going to come or not. That kind of goes with the thing of some places you work, you have vacation time. It may be that it's set days. You may have to accrue them after a certain time. Some places may have unlimited. But then there's places that if you are not there, you do not get paid.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's, I think, some struggle with some people on justifying their vacations and really having to prioritize if I'm not there, I'm not making money. And so this has really got to be important or a big vacation to go on.
So yes, that is a situation, and that is something that a lot of people, probably many of our listeners have to deal with, is sort of that trade-off between, okay, I'm not going to get paid for this time that I'm taking off. But the fact of the matter is that if you don't take time off, if you don't take a vacation, you will get burned out. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are statistics that say that 2/3 of Americans report themselves to be at least moderately burned out from working so much. And of course, you have comparisons between America and other nations and how other nations,
on a holiday.
Yeah, and they take a 2-hour holiday every day and they're more relaxed than we are, and we're too uppity and so forth. But whether or not you believe that particular factoid, there is proof out there. There have been studies that show that burnout is a real thing. And so if you don't take some time off, most employers know that they should encourage their employees to take some time off because burnout affects productivity. It can affect job performance. It can affect, if you're in a job that requires an attention to safety and so forth, burnout can increase on the job accidents and injuries. I mean, there's a whole lot to be said for taking some time off. So, you gotta keep that in mind as both an employer and an employee. It is good for people to take time off from work.
Well, if you've got grown kids that you're having to travel for soccer competitions or cheer comps, then that's not your vacation. Yes, you're having to take time off of work, maybe to travel to all the small little places or Florida or wherever you need to go for these competitions, but that's not a vacation. And I've heard people say, oh, well, I was just off for this or I was off for that. And yeah, you were off, but that wasn't your decompress, your check out from everything, kind of, get it together. And a vacation doesn't mean it has to be like a week long or 2 weeks long. It could be just a good, solid, long weekend, something like that.
Interesting little factoid. One of the things that that employers and employees may think, I don't know how common this attitude is, but a lot more people since we had the whole COVID pandemic, a lot more people are working remotely. And there's this sense that maybe if you're working remotely, is it as high a stress environment? Are you working as much? Is there a burnout? Is there as high a likelihood of burnout if you work from home as there is if you're working in an office? And there's a little factoid here on this list that says more than half, 53% of remote workers are working more hours now than they were in the office, and 61% now find it more difficult to unplug from work because I guess you don't have that separation of, okay, office time is when I work and home time is when I sit and watch TV. I know that when I leave here often, granted, I may not leave until 7 or 8 o'clock at night, but when I leave and I go home, even if I take work home with me, very rarely do I actually do any work at home because I'm like, no, it's time to sit down and play with puppies and watch TV.
One other thing on here is American workers left an average of more than 4 days or 29% of their paid time off last year on the table. They didn't use it. And a lot of places, if you don't use it, you lose it. Have y'all ever thought about, and it's when you were talking, Court, I thought about this. So the reason why I like to have trips booked up is because then it gives me things to look forward to. When you're kids, you think about it you start school and you're ready. Okay, counting down to spring break, counting down to summer. Then it's counting down to fall break. Counting down to these different things that I've got to be in school for this amount of time. And then if I get to this, I get a break. We haven't changed from being those kids.
No, not at all.
We are still that way. And so we have to kind of have that in our mindset of, if I just push, I get all this stuff done, then I'm rewarded by my trip. I've got a wedding that I'm helping coordinate, and I've got a charity event that I'm coordinating their logistics for the big gala, and it's back to back. It's a Friday and a Saturday. I'm like, why did I do this to myself? I'm going to be dead after that. But I didn't realize I did this. The very following week, I've booked to go to the beach. So I'm knowing okay, if I can push through that, then I'm rewarded by going to the beach.
Do y'all feel like your workload is more brutal before or after a vacation?
Well, it's interesting. As Katie was talking about the whole idea of vacations and school breaks, and when you're a kid, you look forward to school breaks, and it hasn't really changed as an adult. The one thing I was thinking is, but as a kid, when I had a school break, I knew that I didn't have any schoolwork that I had to do over that break. And granted, when I got back to school, I was going to have to start doing schoolwork again when I got back to school, but it's not as though... Basically, when you're a kid and you're going to school, when you finish for Christmas break, you're done. You don't come back to a pile of work that was haunting you when you left.
Yeah, you're starting fresh.
Yeah. Whereas with my job, the biggest single issue that I have with taking vacations and actually leaving my job behind is I've been stressed for weeks now about the stuff that I'm trying to get done before I leave town. And I know that it's going to be waiting for me. Anything that I don't get done before I leave town is going to be waiting for me when I get back. And I'm sure there are people out there that are like me that would almost just as soon not go because they know that it could potentially be detrimental to them when they get back.
I'm kind of in your camp. Even for the couple days I took off for Christmas, it was a mad dash for a couple weeks for me, just trying to finish all these projects. I about killed myself.
So I know we have different opinions on this, but in those situations that you're gone, do you feel like it's better to just go blind when you get back and then figure out what it is? Or do you feel yourself kind of having the discipline to kind of sporadically check so you're aware of
what's awaiting you?
What?
Court and I talked about this a few weeks ago. So you know where I stand. I have severe like email anxiety, the red bubble, like on weekends or on vacation. And so I kind of get paralyzed. So I'm just like, I can't check it right now. I can't do it. And I think, Court, are you more of like periodically check in?
Well, I have always been nights, weekends, vacations, whatever. I check my email incessantly. As a matter of fact, I get frustrated when I'm not getting emails, even when I'm on vacation, and I'm like, they're not emailing me on purpose. And
we're supposed to leave you alone.
I want to know what's going on, but I'm very much of a mind that this coming vacation that I have coming up, I'm going to try not to check in as much, because I think that when you're checking your email constantly and responding to emails and still in that work mode, you don't get the separation that you need to actually try and relax. We'll see if it works.
And my process with it, I'm not so much avoiding work. My thought is people have my cell phone number. David and my fellow employees have it, and they will text me on weekends, and that's fine. I'm totally cool with that. Like, if it's an emergency, they know how to really reach me.
I think it's one of those on both sides of it that you've got to figure out what works for you, for your sanity, because if it's going to paralyze you, that you're not going to be able to focus on your vacation because you're too worried about what if. Like I've gotten a bad habit and I need to work on it, that if I have to put my phone, turn it off or on silent or something, and I don't have access to it, I panic that like, what if somebody needs to get a hold of me? What if it's going on? And like, that's not good. But I get that when you're on vacation, you're worried about it. Now, on the flip side of that, if you have someone who is on vacation, please be considerate that they are on vacation and they may be someone who still is going to respond and check emails and do things like that. So don't just send them crap to send them. If it's something that you think you can handle on your own, try and do that first before going to them. And I think Court's heard me preach that so many times when someone's on vacation or out of the office. I'm like, no, do not call them unless it's something like a client has called, it's an emergency, we can't find this. Then you go, hey, I am so sorry. Can you tell me where XYZ is? And then we'll handle it. But last resort, try and not bother people.
And to clear the air in advance, if you ever receive an email from me when you're on vacation, it's because I emailed the entire PWA team and you're just part of that list.
Okay, I'm bad about emailing people when they're gone, just because I think to myself, well, they're probably not checking their email. Even though I check my email,
Yeah.
I always assume that other people are not checking their email. And so I think to myself, they're probably not checking their email. I'm going to go ahead and send this to them now while I'm thinking about it, because if I don't, I will forget. And so I'll go ahead and send them the email. But very rarely, if I send you an email while you're out of the office, do I expect to get a response.
Yeah, I've had emails sent to me that says, do not lend the subject. Do not look at this till you get back. But it is that like wanting to keep you in the loop, let you know of stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, you've got to find your balance. You've got to figure out what works for your job and what needs to be done. So traveling remains a top priority. More than 9 in 10, so 91% of Americans say it's important to use their paid time off to travel. And I'm going to throw in here, we're talking about vacations, but you can also plan a staycation. Sometimes I have wondered that of just where you're at you maybe tell everybody, tell your family, tell your coworkers, tell everybody like, I'm going out of town. I'm going on a vacation, and you just stay at your house. I mean, in theory, I feel like this would be a dream of mine, but I also feel like I would end up slipping and be like, yeah, I'm just sitting in my house. Y'all tell me what's going on. I need to come up here.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, Cameron, I think I know what you're going to say, which is the same thing I would say, which is if I stay at home on a vacation, if I take off from work, but I stay at home, I'm going to feel pressure to do work around the house that needs to get done.
Yeah, it wouldn't be truly a vacation.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say I highly recommend a staycation.
Oh, okay.
Abby and I did one. Our kids were really young, but we stayed around Memphis, and we got to do a lot of the cool Memphis stuff that you don't really do if you're a local. And it was fun. And staycations are a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
And a little more comfortable. You're in your own house, or you can stay in a local hotel, which is kind of fun.
Well, and I think that's a good point of if you have little kids, that it's a way that you can still go on a vacation, but you're still close enough if an emergency happens with your kid.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of fear of being far away. You know, I remember my parents were out of the country and I got in a wreck and could not get a hold of them. And I think I never let them live that one down. The 2 times in my life, they were out of town. They were out of the country when I got in a bad wreck, and they were unavailable when I split my finger open and had to get stitches, and I couldn't get them. But you never grow up and use your parents. But my point is that, what is my point?
I don't know. But
I don't know where I was going with it. Oh, just like having that stress
Maybe
of
use a
not being
vacation.
far away. Because it's like, you know, Court, you may or may not be going on a cruise soon. And cruises prior to, you know, the 21st century, you were on the water. You're not reachable.
Even in the 21st century, the last time I took a cruise was maybe a decade ago, but it was still in the 21st century. And even then, they didn't have Wi-Fi across the ship. It was, you had to go to the onboard internet cafe to be able to access your email and stuff like that.
I'm in the cafe emailing you.
Yeah. And of course I didn't do that. It was very simple for me to say, okay, I'm not gonna mess with that. I'm gonna just enjoy because I had an iPhone at the time, I know, but so I had the ability to like access my email and stuff if I had access to a cell signal and if I had access to Wi-Fi. But since I didn't, it didn't bother me. And I never went to the internet cafe. But this coming time that we're going on a cruise again, they have Wi-Fi. It's everywhere on the ship, and you pay a little extra for it, and boom, you've got Wi-Fi for your vacation. So I guarantee you, I'm going to see every email that comes through. It's not going to be the same disconnect that it was before.
Okay, let me throw some financial in there. One of the things when I do a financial plan for somebody is I talk to them about their importance of travel and how it needs to be a discipline. If you find that travel is very important, then you need to almost make it a bill. And so we're sitting here talking to you. We're in January. If you're trying to plan for a trip, then make it that you're planning for a trip almost every year. If you think that you're wanting to spend $6,000 a year on travel, obviously spread out between the 12 months, then every month you need to save $500 and put it in a bank account or a checking account. Don't invest it because you're going to be using that money. But then what you're doing is you're putting money aside every single month for that trip. And then you go on said trip or you book the plane tickets, you put it on credit cards, you get the perks and points, and then you use that travel account to pay it off. But then what do you do when you come back? You keep building up again. And what this does is say something happened like COVID where you weren't really able to travel, but you still were able to then save. So that then means the next year you can maybe take a bigger trip because you have 2 years worth of travel built up. What I like about this is it also allows you that kind of YOLO. I don't think people say that anymore. Like you only live once thing, but it's the whole, you've got money set aside every year for travel that if someone was to call you and say, I just got these tickets to see, Green Day play in Chicago. Court, do you want to go? And you're like, oh man, like plane tickets are going to be this and hotel's going to be this. But you're like, oh, but I have this travel bucket over here. I can do this. Or Cam wants to go to London to see you too. I don't know.
Oh my Lord. You give me a ticket to see Green Day in Chicago and I'll be like, I can make that drive. I can sleep in my car. I'm going to Green Day.
Saving for travel, if it is important, if you see it as important for your mental health, important for your family, important for your friendships, whatever it is, then make it a bill. Make it where you can then have that money aside that if someone has a destination wedding or a bachelorette trip comes up or, if you decide to do a family trip, then you've already saved for it. You've taken away that stress because that's the worst thing about a vacation is you go, you spend all this money and you come back and you're like, oh crap, when the credit card bill comes in. It's like Christmas. And we've talked about before on, I think, our second or third episode that we did about vacations, the idea of like
second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth.
that cruises and like Disney World and things like that have the wristbands that your credit card's attached to. You're just blindly like, yep, I'll take this. Yep, I'll take that. And you don't see the act of like swiping your credit card and realizing how much you're actually spending. Mm-hmm. So I can't really help you with that. I mean, if you know that.
So you're out of luck there, guys. Sorry, we couldn't help you, deal with it.
No, it's just, I mean, if you're that pattern, then you need to make sure you've got the money to cover it. But breaking it down financially as well, like I'm sure when y'all are talking about doing your cruise, you probably could have sat there and said, okay, we could break up the cruise into payment plans. We could buy the plane tickets in January and then buy the basic cruise thing in March and then buy the booze package in June. And you could do that if you
Who's
needed
buying
to.
a booze package?
That is the most important part of a
need
vacation.
a booze package.
Yes, you do.
We are good people. We are God-fearing people, and we will not be drinking.
I'm just saying you can space it out and structure it where you're kind of breaking up those big trips. And people, there's so many websites out there about hacks of like, when's the best time to buy? And I've never personally tried the whole like buying the gift cards and then using it to buy things. And I hadn't done that, but I also haven't put the time in to do that. And I know my personality. So heck, I'll go ahead and buy the plane tickets this month. And then next month, maybe I'll book the hotel.
I want to just throw out here that because we recognize that there are different kinds of people out there and there are different kinds of people on this podcast. I would love to watch Katie Pickler and David Pickler react, just their reactions to the way that Robin and I have planned this vacation and continue to plan this vacation. They would have had heart failure at least 4 or 5 times by now. I mean, from the way that we booked the cruise to the way that we booked the flights to the fact that we haven't started packing yet. Oh, I mean, like
that's me all the way though. I wait till the very last minute.
This has been the craziest sort of like, if we don't just do it this way, if we try and had planned out for it the way that you suggested, I think I probably would have gotten cold feet and just not pulled the trigger on anything. So Robin's just kind of been like, oh, hey, I'm going to do this now. And I'm like, well, okay, we're doing it then.
I didn't say that's how I do things. I'm telling our listeners, like, this is what you should do. No, what I do is I'm like, oh, yeah, we want to go to the beach. Okay, booked. And it's like, well, who's going?
Yeah.
When are we going? Like, I impulsively get excited. I'm like, oh my God, we got to do this. We got to do that. And it's like when I went on a Salem trip, I started booking anything and everything. And I'm like, well, we need this place. We need that place. And then it's like, oh crap. How much did I just spend on this?
Yeah.
So don't do what I do.
Do as we say, not as we do.
But you get excited about it. And oh yeah, I'm a last minute packer. And I think with that comes, then you have to go and buy stuff that you forgot.
The reason I brought that up and said that the way that I did is because I wanted to sort of circle back around to what this episode is about, which is there is a specific day, January 30th, that is dedicated to planning your vacation. And by planning your vacation, they really are talking about looking out over the course of the next year, the next 12 months, and really setting out those dates when you want to go somewhere and like picking the place and having it all decided, going ahead and letting your employer know that these are the days that you want off. And so that's really what Plan Your Vacation Day is about. It's not about like, what site are you going to and how are you going to pay for it? It really is literally like pick the dates and put them on the calendar and have the place where you're going to go and let your boss know and that sort of stuff. One of the reasons that they suggest that you do this is because they say that Americans who plan out their time off take more time off to travel. So, a quarter of American households don't do this. They don't plan it in advance. And I know from personal experience, the way that I am is I'll very much say, like, I've wanted to visit the Tuscan Valley for many, many years since I originally saw Under the Tuscan Sun in movie theaters. I've wanted to go over there. And I've been saying for years, Robin, you and I need to go do this. But we never do because we've never really taken that next step to say, like, these are the dates we're going. And then, okay, now we need to book the flight. And now we need to
do it.
So this is the first time really that I've said, like, she was like, hey, there's this cruise that's available for this place that we've always wanted to go. We should do it. And I was like, yeah, we should do it. And I never thought it was going to happen because it was just another random conversation that she had while she was, she was looking at something on her iPad. And I was like, yeah, sure, we need to do that. It'll be great. And then she just went and booked it. So...
and that's the thing is it's you're always going to have an excuse of when not to go. And in fact, y'all have delayed this and y'all have tried to delay it again. And I'm glad y'all are actually going. I'm the one taking y'all to the airport. So I'm going to make sure you get on the dang plane and go because you need it. But I think that is a struggle that some people will have this dream bucket list and then they never act on it. And you need to have that balance, work hard, play hard, obviously plan to make sure you're not going to screw yourself over on taking this trip. And I'm not saying travel so much that your job's like, do you care about traveling or working? Because it's got to be that balance. And like you do have someone like Daniel, if he's not there, he's not making money. So you have to strategize. And I have to understand that, his schedule is different from my schedule. He's got to not only plan that with me, he's got to plan it with his coworkers to make sure areas are covered, because his job is more of he's got to be there. He can't be remote like me, that I can be talking to clients and be like, yeah, I'm on a ride in Disney or I'm sitting on the beach. Like, they don't have to know that, but I'm still helping them with their accounts. And y'all are like, nope.
Go on vacation. Bullseye.
Do it. Like,
do it.
Plan for, no, my bullseye would be kind of what I said is throw a number out there of how much you think you want to spend on travel each year. Even if you know you're not going to do that every year, just start making it a bill. Pay your future self and you will make a huge difference for it. Plan out those trips. Have something to look forward to and enjoy life, because we're not promised tomorrow. And one of the things that David Pickler has drilled into my head is that you don't want to say what if.
Yeah.
And that is so true. There have been so many times that I've gone to a playoff game or, driven up and back to see the Kentucky Derby or things like that that were super crazy. And people are like, why are you doing this? And yeah, in those moments, I was tired. They were kind of crazy, but I just have the memories of going to the Kentucky Derby and going to that playoff game and doing these different things. And I don't remember the day after where I was really sleep deprived or things like that.
Yes, I absolutely understand what you're saying, and I understand where you're coming from. And to a degree, I can say that, yes, every time that I have taken a major vacation, despite how stressed about it I might have been beforehand and how resistant I even was to the idea of doing it beforehand, there is not a single vacation that I can think of, as an adult at least, that I regretted taking after I took it. Since I passed the age of, say, 18, every vacation that I can think of that I would consider a big vacation, I remember fondly. So definitely, I think that there is a lot of weight that you can put on actually doing it and making the decision to do it and following through with it. But I absolutely understand the fear that comes with sort of that pre-vacation jitters and the planning and the stress about work and everything like that can prevent you from actually pulling the trigger and taking the vacation. I'm actually to the point now, I'm close enough to the time when I'll actually be leaving that the excitement of the trip is starting to get higher than the stress that I've been feeling about going. So I'm actually to a point now where I'm starting to go like, I'm looking forward to this. And so if you're like me and that kind of thing can cause you stress, if you can actually bring yourself to pull the trigger, then it's probably something that you will not regret after the fact. It may worry you like heck leading up to it, but after the fact, you're going to really appreciate that you did it.
If you are in desperate need of a mental break and you want to go on vacation, but you can't afford vacation, seriously, consider a staycation. It's a lot more affordable. You have the unique opportunity to explore your city, things that you typically can't do. So keep that in the back of your mind. Bullseye.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, there's the closing bell. You've made it to the end of yet another episode of the Bullcast Podcast. If you liked what you heard and you'd like to hear more, please feel free to go to your favorite subscription service and sign up to have our podcast delivered to your listening device every single Thursday at noon. If you'd like to find out more about me, Katie, Cameron, we have a website. You can go to that website. That's bullcastpodcast.com. You can find out about us. You can also drop a comment. Let us know if there's a topic you'd like to hear us talk about, or if you'd like to recommend a guest that could come on our podcast that you'd like to hear, then please feel free to do all of that at the website. Again, that's bullcastpodcast.com. We have a Facebook page. That's the Bullcast Podcast. We have a Twitter account. Our handle is @Bullcast Podcast. And we do pictures on the Instagram, and that handle is @Bullcast Podcast as well. We have mentioned David several times in this episode, and we've mentioned the fact that we work at a place called Pickler Wealth Advisors. If you'd like to find out what exactly it is we do at Pickler Wealth Advisors, find out information about our amazing team and our boss, David Pickler, please feel free to go to that website. That's picklerwealthadvisors.com.
That's advisors with an O.
Not an E.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have given you a lot of information. Hopefully we've put the bug in your ear to start thinking about your next vacation. Remember, you need it and it will help. So get to planning. For now, I'm Court.
I'm Katie.
I'm Cam.
And we're done.